Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. This show is live on youtube.com/the Action Network. If you're not, go hit the like and subscribe button, hit the notification button, and you can catch when we go live with all our various shows, including Buckets, which is going to be on tonight, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Sunday. Not Sunday. Yes, Sunday. Sorry, yes, because the Nuggets game 4 is in the afternoon, so I'll be around to do that as well. We have a 4-pack tonight. So we got the Future Jays. We got Jim Turvey at Turvey Bets from Roto Grinders. We've got Joe Dellera at Joe Dellera from the Cash That Podcast and the Action Network. And we got NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson. Because when Brandon starts talking and starts watching the sport again, he has lots of things he wants to say and share. So I'm going to do my awful best, my best to not talk a lot during this episode so that we can keep the conversation moving. And I'm just going to try and play point guard. My job is to just be a facilitator. I got to be Steve Nash, and I cannot be Steph Curry chucking up shots. I got to pass and pass without turnovers. I have to be the anti-Steph. So that's what we're going to try and do.
Tyrese Halliburton, you got a few buckets in you along with all those assists, maybe.
That's true. Hallie is that way. Steve Nash always talks about how he's like, man, if I played now, I would have scored way more. Like he talks about how like he regrets he didn't score more. We're gonna run down kind of our first round best bets, like what we're most proud of. What were the bets that we felt like we did well both today and for the first round? We're gonna talk a little bit about Rockets Warriors and the lessons from that series as the Warriors advance over the Houston Rockets in Game 7 to face the Minnesota Timberwolves in round 2. We will immediately start talking about that series as well. We'll talk about the Pacers getting the upset win over the Cavs as well. And then we'll do best bets for Monday with 2 bets in the association as the Denver Nuggets try and pick their arm up off of the ground, like in Saving Private Ryan, and head to OKC to take on the Thunder, which is a totally different type of shelling. And the Boston Celtics host an exhibition game versus some team that is only going to be there for about 5 days. We'll do all that and more on today's show. If you're listening live on youtube.com/the Action Network, if you're in the comment section, give us your best bets for Monday. I will star them and we will go back through them and talk to the guys about it. But we are tight on time here because people have things they have to do in the morning. So we're going to get started. Jim Turvey, I want to know right now from the first round, what was your best bet? What was like the best bet that you made in the first round?
So I'm going to pick a whole market, and it's a market that I really have to remember next time to just unload on. Is the absolute best market. It's the BetMGM postseason long player props.
Oh yeah,
they post the regular season numbers. And listen, game to game, I feel like I get in the weeds a little too much, and I play something one game and it misses, and I don't go back to it the next game, and then it hits, and like the night to night stuff. But the zoomed out, if you can take the big picture heading into the postseason and pick out players who are going to either see increases in minutes, changes in rotations, really like kind of low hanging fruit. Already cleared 3 of the 4 posted. We cleared it was Doncic points over. Yeah. That was easy. He was going to get more minutes. He always scores more in the postseason. Not that hard. Reeves assists under. That was a number they were posting the full season line for Reeves, who half the season played with LeBron and Luka, and the number was, over assists lower, and we go into the postseason, we're scoring down. That was easy. Kuzma assists under was clearly going to get played off, and if not, all the other stuff with Bobby Portis back and the whole team looking different. And then now I'm jinxing the only one that's still open is the Jalen Brunson points over. I'm sure Christ, fully but this is such a good market. I really got to remember to go heavy on these. Maybe even pick a few more that are leans because the edge is so big on this. So those are my favorite bets of the first round. I really thought that those went well, and hopefully I didn't just kill off the Brunson one too hard.
You absolutely just killed off the Brunson.
Yeah, we're fucked. Did that. Literally like Celtics in 3 now. I can blame Jim for the next.
I will never forgive you for that. Joe Dellera, your best bets from round 1 or today?
Honestly, I was really thrilled with some of these leader bets, and Brandon, I'm sure, is going to talk about the other one that we were on as a grouper. But I really nailed these Anthony Edwards assist props because we talked about that. I thought he was going to be used as a facilitator. I thought the Lakers were basically going to say anybody but him, and it was still Ant and everybody else. So we got him the head-to-head against LeBron, 6+ per game, and then the series assist leader at 18-1. So that was great. It felt like I had a good read on that the entire time, honestly. And I'm so glad David just called out Turvey here.
Thanks, Pan. Thanks.
It's awesome. But no, we hit another series leader today too that Brandon and I were just tweeting about. So I'll pass that one over to Brandon here.
Okay, Brandon, I need you to not victory lap everything. Like, select the best that you're most proud of.
Obviously, Pistons series, the best bet that I made last round, doubling down on Pistons series. Again, obviously the best bet. But the one Joe is saying, yeah, we can only say so much about the Pistons. Şengün, first round of rebounds leader, just hit home for us, 30-1. Şengün, series assist leader. Şengün, I think 10 rebounds a game. We played lots of rebounds that way. I'd mark Ant assist as well. Joe was on that before the series, and then I think Jim and I joined midway in the series. So I got a 25-1 and thankfully did not hedge out of there. Tatum rebounds didn't hit for the series leader, but just like the per game. So the DraftKings per game, like that would be my thing to what Jim said. Like those markets, if you can get the right one as well. We hit 8 per game. We hit 8 per game live in the series, even though, he came back injured and had 14 the next game. I think the bet that I'm most proud of for me personally, because of the history of me personally, is believing in my Timberwolves and actually seeing what was there with them and seeing what wasn't there with the Lakers and actually just, getting the Wolves and believing it for once.
Okay. What was the worst bet of the first round for you, Brandon?
Heat series. That's I took the Heat. I thought they were live. They were not live even before the series began. They were not live at the start of Game 4. It was terrible. I also put, we got real excited and unloaded on Shea 30 points every game, like at the last second. And then he went out and had his season low in Game 1 immediately with 19 points or whatever.
That was
I
crazy.
don't know. I still feel like that was a decent bet, but when you bet 30 every game and it's up 19 immediately, it's a pretty rough one on 2.5 units.
Just to be clear, that Brandon says that his worst bet is one that he thinks was a pretty good bet anyway. I
had a great round.
You did have a great round. I had a terrible one. I lost everything. It was terrible. I hate everything. Lakers especially just killed me, man. I shorted the work and I paid for it, and that's the reality. Is like I played way too much narrative stuff in this round. Like it was like, what was my initial reaction? I'm on the basketball side. Oh, Nuggets in 7, and then 5 days of talking to Brandon Anderson and Jim Turvey, and I'm on Clippers in 6.
Well, you want to transition to me then?
Yeah.
My worst bet was indeed the Clippers. Yeah.
Oh, no. It was Game 7. Come on. It was a coin flip.
It definitely, because here's the thing. The entire reason you would push back on me when I was on the Clipper side of things was you said, like the carrying amount matters, and you can go a certain distance with Kawhi if he has Van Vliet and Siakam and all these other guys with him, or a Spurs organization. But when it's Kawhi number 1, James Harden number 2 in a series this close, I thought it would be a close series. I didn't think it was going to be a blowout. That is the kind of thing that is very much going to matter, and I completely ignored it. So you got too caught up in narrative. I completely ignored a pretty important factor in this series, which was this is going to be really close. Denver's going to be at home for Game 7, and Kawhi and James Harden look listless, and they looked listless early in the series. I didn't buy out. I didn't use any opportunities to hedge out and grab Dallas at any point, or Denver at any point. Denver was getting plus money with 3 games to go, 2 of them at home. I was intrigued. I couldn't talk myself into it, and I regret not doing it because I could have hedged out on the series. Now I have other, my worst beat might also be a bad bet. We can talk about that when it gets to it. But I was the most disappointed in myself with the Clippers of all these first round bets.
I think you were okay. Aaron Gordon doesn't tip the ball in, and things can go very differently in this one. So.
Yeah, but it really, to me, it came down to, and this is not how I see the sport very often, but it was like these 2 guys just don't really care. Like it really did feel that way, and that's what you had said the whole time, and I kind of poo-pooed.
Brandon took a loss as one of his better bets, or said that one of his better bets was one of his worst bets. I'm going to do a similar one in that I don't think it's a beat, so I'm not going to put it in the beat segment. Like I took Rockets plus 190 on principle, and we got to a Game 7, and I didn't hedge because I was just like, you know what, like, fine. Like fine. You know what? If the Warriors win this, then okay. But the bet was good because I took a dog at plus 190 with home court, and they got to a game 7. Like, I'm good on that. Joe, what was your worst bet of the first round?
It felt like more like a bad beat in a way because I had a bunch of threes leaders.
This crew tonight. Okay, go on.
I had a bunch of threes leaders in the Clippers Nuggets series, and I liked my positioning. I had Powell and Jokic. And then after game 1, Harden was unbelievable, and it was still hanging like plus 225 on Harden to be the series leader. And then Jamal Murray just makes like 10 threes in one game, and it just totally jacked up the whole market. So that one hurt a little bit. Honestly, I didn't do too much losing on my futures in the round 1, so I feel pretty good.
Okay. All right. Let me just make a note here. To hell with Joe Dellera. Got it. Worst beat. Jim, what was your worst beat of the first round?
This was me getting way too cute. This was what I was so happy about was I came on here. I was like, I am doing Wolves, and I got too cute. And the only way I bet the Wolves was 4-2 exact. And that was really, really stupid because it's when you are right about something and you don't even get to victory lap it. That is the worst thing of all time. So I did the stupid thing. I got too cute. I went for a really long number. And the worst part is that in the Clippers series, I did the same thing. I bet the 4-2 exact, but I also at least got a little bit on the Clippers series. That was the one that was wrong. I managed to double dip my idiocracy, whatever word. I'm proving my idiocy right now. I somehow only played the highest rung in the ladder. And over in the WNBA world, my betting buddy over there, Calvin Wetzel, will always yell at me for skipping up rungs of the ladder. I'm like, well, no, there's a logic where I think that the edge is bigger on this third rung of the ladder, so I'm not taking the first 2 rungs. Don't overthink it, Jim. Take the first 2 rungs on the ladder if you like the third. Don't get too cute with it. That's probably my betting lesson as well. That was a bummer to be able to be on the Wolves and this team that I had loved for so much and then not even get to victory lap was annoying.
Joe, what was your worst beat of the first round?
I just talked about it kind of a little bit last time, but honestly, like the Knicks should have won in fewer games. Like they should have won that series in not.
Joe is on one tonight.
Get all the way out.
On one tonight.
They should have made Brandon look stupider. And like they should have swept. They should have won that series. They're way better, and they just could not get it together. So can't wait for them to lose in 3 to the Boston Celtics in a shockingly bad fashion.
That's fun. I should get these 2 on if this series is competitive at all. We gotta get these 2 guys.
I'd like to go next. My worst beat was the Detroit Pistons. Should have won the series 6-0. Obviously, my best bet of the round. Absolutely, the Pistons literally got a win stolen from them by the referees. We all watched it happen. Aisha Curry tweet.
You didn't watch it.
I watched that series. That is my worst beat. I honestly, like, not even a humble brag. I feel like I got a lot of lucky breaks this time, so I don't want to complain about too many others.
Okay, let's do lessons that we took. Let's start with Joe this time. What's like the big lesson that you took from this first round from a betting standpoint, Joe?
I think some of these like leader markets and stuff, like I love them. I think they're so much fun to bet that we don't get them that often, like throughout the course of the series, right? I think you really need to look through it and say like, okay, this number might be good, but like, is it even worth it? Or like, do I need to hedge right now? Because they do tend to repop after every game. And I think that sometimes like you can overthink it and say, well, like I had the favorite and then I wanted to, like, you want to rebet them or do you need to start hedging on a different position? I think sometimes we've watched these lines move dramatically before where we put out the bet, it's logged in the app, and then the odds just get torpedoed. And a lot of times at that point, like you could make a decision and say, well, now do I want to start hedging, start building some other positions because some of the other odds went longer? Or do I want to just sit on this spot that I think I got a really good line on? And I think that it's about like your tolerance for risk. But if you got a really good line and you set the market and you said, this is way wrong, I think you don't want to start burning your units trying to say like, well, I cornered the top 3 options now. I think you're just in a better position. So sit with that. And, if you make the right choice early, on some of these markets that are a little bit softer because the books don't offer them that often. I think you need to just recognize that you put yourself in the best position to win and kind of ride with that.
I think some of this is random, so I'm not going to say it's like a big lesson. I will say this first round did not do a lot to dissuade me off of my March basketball is meaningless. You need to look at certain parts of the season between the Clippers and the Lakers.
Yeah.
Like, I won't even say, like, again, I bet Clippers in 6, and I went back on them after game 4 because I was like, they're going to win the next 2, and then the Nuggets stomped them in 5. So like, I lost money on that series even with having Nuggets 4-3. The one thing I will say that with the Lakers is there was a stretch of basketball where they were defending so well, and I didn't want to be somebody who was just like obstinate and very surface level and like, come on, you can't have a good defense if you have Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves and Jackson Hayes. Like, that's not going to be a good defense.
Yeah.
And so like I watched the games and I was like, oh, like look at this, like they're doing this, like look at how good their weak side zone is and all. And the difference is just like I took those individual performances as a model of what will happen without I am doing this too much, which is I am factoring way too much of regular season into playoff as opposed to being what if this operates at the highest speed and intensity level, what does this look like? Because if I had done that, I would have been like, oh, the Lakers are going to get killed. Like they're going to get murdered. And I didn't do that. And that was frustrating for me. But that's a lesson is like, I am still very much in, regardless of what happened last year with the Mavs, we'll see. Maybe the Warriors are going to, they're like the last team in the tournament with a real chance to be like, after the trade deadline, they're like the last team. And they're the one that I like the least. So of course they're going to be the ones that make the finals. But in general, I think that March basketball is stupid and you should not listen to it. Brandon, what are your lessons from round 1?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar to Joe as one thing is, Joe and I talked about when we had the ant assists and we were like, okay, Joe and I had a phone call. Like, should I add LeBron now? He's this long number, but then we got to come back later and we're going to have to get Luka as well. And we couldn't like quite figure out what the numbers were. And you gotta like, this is not a lesson that's new. If you're going to bet 30-1 long shots all the time, like I'm going to do, you need to like, you should be losing in heartbreaking fashion often with 30-1 tickets because otherwise you're not winning enough times and not being good enough to get those going. So I think you have to be okay with that. A thing for me that I learned is for me personally, I'm the futures guy. You've literally titled me the futures guy. I crushed on futures this round. I gave a lot of it back day by day. Like this week, like Tuesday to Friday, I dropped like 12 units or 15 units. Like I was ice cold for like 4 days in a row, could not hit anything. As my futures are cashing and like offsetting it, I should be betting more in futures. That's the thing I'm good at. That's the thing I trust the most. That's where I find the biggest edges. For me as a bettor, that's what I should be betting more on, not being a moron and betting like half units on one of these things. And then I look at, I'm bored on Wednesday afternoon and I'm like, oh, check out this rebounding edge I found on this 2.5 guy. Let's go all the way up to 8 on the escalator. There goes 3 units. Like, what the heck? I spent like 4 hours prepping a series and getting a good edge. So yeah, I think don't get bored day to day. Bet more on the thing you know the most. And another thing too that I noticed, it's okay to just not have it for a series and just be done. There's a couple of series like for me, Clippers, Nuggets, I kind of lost my way with it. Couldn't quite figure it out. And I just didn't do a lot with it down the stretch. Warriors, Rockets, especially as the Warriors fan. I got the Curry shirt on today. I thought it was done after game 6. I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. The old team on the road, they're exhausted. I'm ready to go Rockets like -30, -40. It's done. Like, we know how this ends. I would have just chased and lost a lot of money. I didn't know. So I just was like, I made no bets on game 7 tonight. That's terrible. How do I make no bets on a game 7? Sometimes if you don't know, you can just not know and not need to chase and make bets. So those were lessons I had this round.
And Jim, your lessons from round 1.
Similar market, market unit allocation. Basically, like Brandon said, focusing more on futures. Definitely, I did much better on futures than day to day. But also, like I said, that MGM, playoff long props. That's something I do really well. Smash that. do less on the, the rebound escalator I discovered during, mid-round, that suddenly the coach decides I'm zagging instead of zigging because I'm Steve Kerr and I don't think logically when it comes to rotations.
Oh my
and
God.
stuff like that. But then even like the every game thing. Okay, maybe the best one you can sprinkle a little bit. Don't put like 4 units or whatever I put on like the Shea one that was killed just instantly and wiped out like everything. And then, picking the Wolves. I learned a lot of lessons. Wolves not skipping rungs. There's a lot of stuff. I think the biggest thing is that market, prioritization, making sure to be putting the units in the spots where you have the biggest edges is what I took away from round 1.
I think that's a good point, though, what you both are kind of saying, because we have these offerings, right, for like rebound leader or like these 6 to 8, 10, 12, whatever, like whether it's assists per game or points per game or rebounds per game. If you have like an eagle view kind of view, like perspective of the way that you think a prop is going to play out, this is one of those unique times during the season where you have the ability to bet on it over the course of the entire series. So you don't have to overexpose yourself on a nightly basis. Like you can say, I think this is going to be a great assist series for Tatum, and I'm going to bet this right now at this great number. Maybe I'm going to bet like 8+, and it's basically you're taking an alt line for the course of the entire series, and you can survive some of the variance. Like if there's one game that he's got 14, that's awesome. If he's got another game that's got 5, you're not dead in the water because you know that the floor is going to be relatively high, and he does have some ceiling potential in a variety of different games. So I think that if you're not totally sure and you think that there might be some adjustments as the series goes on, that could be a good way to try to bet into those types of markets rather than trying to guess, is this coach going to do this with the rotation in game 1? Are they going to try to counter in game 2 and do this? Those types of bets let that variance from a game to game basis play out.
That's good stuff. That was really good stuff. Let's move on and let's talk about Rockets Warriors. So Rockets put up a fight. I thought they were in a really good position, but game 7s are about shooting variance. It really is. Like I'm on a narrative trip about Nuggets Clippers, but in reality, like much of it was shooting variance. Like Russell Westbrook hit open threes, Nicholas Batum, Chris Dunn, etc. did not. And that's just like how it goes sometimes. In this one, Steph Curry, Buddy Hield, those guys hit threes, and the rest of the Warriors, Pajemski, like they got contributions, and the Rockets did. Like one of the reasons I did not get in on a side on this game was if I did not want to bet, like the trends all said Houston. I did not want to bet on the Houston Rockets in a shot variance game. That seemed like a bad idea. Jim Turvey, you have a note in our rundown. I'm trying to understand it.
Okay, that's why I was going to ask if anyone could guess what my note means. Did you guys see the note?
No, but I've had it stuck in my head the entire time we've been recording.
The note is just the name of 90s Canadian country sensation, Shania Twain, who I know the words to about 8 of her songs, being an avid listener of 90s country radio.
The lyric that I'm going to say.
So
the lyric.
That don't impress me much.
There it is. Brandon got it. Yep. My bigger takeaways from a broad non-betting side, a basketball side, is that I'm loving the Wolves even more. I think I'm seeing a lot in the comments. I don't know if it's one person over and over or if the comments right now is really all about the Warriors in this series, but I gotta say we know game 1's gonna be tough. I know, Joe, you already put that one out there that you like Wolves in game 1, those off of game 7s. Yeah, exactly. They're going to be really tired. That was a battle of a series right there. Even though they won the final game by a decent margin, that really was a battle of a series. The Wolves just have so much depth of talent and option. Like the optionality is incredible. And I've been really impressed with Finch. I think Finch is the coach that I thought was the best coach in round 1. Now he goes up against Steve Kerr, who has not impressed me with his rotation decisions. A Jimmy Butler who, I guess they got it done. They won the series, so maybe playoff Butler lives. But playoff Butler has looked like pretty human overall. Steph has looked relatively human, even though, I think a lot of Warriors fans were saying, Curry stopper who, early in the series. It wasn't his best series ever. They're a good team. They're a talented team. They're an experienced team. This Wolves team now has a fair amount of experience, and Ant is just very clearly a dude who steps up in the postseason. He is once again looked outstanding. Now, all of this, we just talked about how bad the Lakers defense was. How much of this is like it's really easy to say this second, Jaden McDaniels is a playoff guy. He's one of those people that steps up in the postseason. Is he going to be able to do it against a Warriors defense that was quite good after Jimmy Butler came to town? One of the better defenses around. It's going to be a stiffer test than the Lakers. I think the Warriors are better than the Lakers. I think the Warriors are a pretty good team, but coming off of that series, the Wolves having rest and the fact that the optionality and coaching ability to use that optionality for the Wolves, I really do come back to Minnesota side. We saw them taking a little bit of money already in game one. We saw them taking a little bit of money for the series as a whole, as we were just kind of sitting here, in the waiting room talking about, okay, let's see what this number opened up at for the series. I think the market's priced decently overall, but I really do think that on this side of the bracket, the Wolves were the team that impressed me more, much more than the Warriors.
Joe, where did you kind of come out on it when we look at Rockets Warriors and how that one shook out?
It was just a battle. And to me, I think at the end of the day, I'm not super impressed with Golden State. I think that they allowed a younger Rockets team that really just cannot score the basketball to hang around for 7 games. And I think they're going to have major concerns, major issues playing against a team that has a much stronger point of attack and clear head of the snake in terms of their offense. And they have multiple, Minnesota has multiple options on offense that can score and create for themselves and for others. And Houston basically has none of that. They have a sprinkling every so often. If Fred VanVleet decides to turn back the clock every so often, then they're okay. They look like they have a semblance of an offense. But I mean, down the stretch, they're just giving the ball to Şengün. Şengün can't get anything done against Draymond Green, which is Draymond Green's a transcendent defensive player, but that was their best option. They had nothing else they could really go to because they were just down in the mud. So I think that this is a spot for Minnesota for sure to come out firing. And, I thought the Golden State maybe, they lose the momentum. They're an older team. They're maybe a little bit more tired, like we have kind of been saying, but I don't know. Maybe that doesn't affect them too much in game 7. I think it's going to affect them a lot in game 1.
Well, those are very reasonable perspectives. Brandon Anderson, what was your lesson from Rockets Warriors?
I strongly disagree that this was about shot variance. To me, the Warriors told us for the last week, we don't even need to care about this Rockets team. When we lock in and try, we will take care of business. And finally, tonight, I thought that they backed that up. Here's the numbers. Till we got to the final couple of minutes of Warriors up 20, night celebration, it's over. The Warriors had 5 turnovers all game. No player in the Warriors had more than 1 turnover. That is locked in. Steve Kerr locked in his 5 dudes and rode them all game. The bench up until that point, I didn't see the last couple of minutes, had 3 points in 32 minutes combined. He took his 5 guys. He put Buddy in the lineup because the Rockets couldn't hurt him, and he put Pods in the lineup. Those were clearly the guys. They spaced the court out, and they dominated with them. He exiled Quentin Post. 3 minutes, no stats, didn't work, wasn't going well. He put some Looney in to handle Adams. And importantly, the Rockets were 3 of 14 on threes until the final 2 minutes. And you know how I do. The 3 is bad. That's not shot variance. The 14 is coaching and defense and intensity. That is the Warriors saying, if we don't let you shoot threes, you're not going to beat us. And I'm not going to say, okay, look, Buddy Hield, that's shot variance. 9-11 threes, obviously that's shot variance. Steph Curry was scoreless till almost halftime, and the Warriors were up almost double digit during that stretch. Steph Curry being scoreless, you can't call that shot variance. This is Kerr and the Warriors. As much as I dumped on them the last couple of games for giving them away, for just this series, they did the thing. They locked in. They stopped doing all the stupid Warrior stuff we always get so mad about. And this was never really in doubt, not just because of shot variance, it was because they didn't turn it over, they played defense, and they never gave the Rockets any shot to score.
No, it was shot variance. The Rockets weren't able to generate threes because their offense is bad. And the Warriors shot 42%, I believe, 42% from 3-point range. It's fine. We can disagree, but no, it was
You think every game 7 ever is shot variance and luck, and it is not. This was something that the coaching got the job done. Kerr does not normally get the job done. I saw they advertised late. Steve Kerr moves to 4-1 in game 7s. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Oh yeah, that was the one. Okay, yeah, never mind. Not great. Not great.
Steve Kerr is an incredible coach, and he's the only reason Steph Curry is Steph Curry. Let's move on to Pacers Cavs. You know, I gave out 4-1. So I'm gonna need the Cavaliers to get moving here awful quick.
Hey, you got the one.
Yeah, got the one. I will just say I was, this is one of the problems with the stuff that I do where I'm like, here's what's like they're gonna do, and this is like what they showed, and blah 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 blah. Rick Carlisle was like, no, we're gonna run. Just run at them. Just run at them as hard as possible. And they're going to be like, oh, God, we just played the Heat. What is this? And that's exactly what happened. Like, phenomenal job by Rick Carlisle. Like, this was an A+ Carlisle game. From how he schemed, from the rotations, to the lineups, to the matchups, to the overall game plan. The Pacers got them out of their comfort zone and won this game. Now, the question is, how do we bet this now? And I'll start with Jim Turvey. Jim, what's your reaction to game 1, and what are you looking at from here?
Well, Matt, I actually am kind of in between you and Brandon on the shot variance. Like, I definitely think it played a factor in the other series, but isn't this the shot variance game? I mean, the Pacers were 19 of 36 from 3. The Cavs were 9 of 38. Now, I think that there is a pretty good case to be made that the Pacers defense is better than it has gotten credit for all year, and that they are going to make these looks tough for the Cavs. And I think, I am the biggest Cavs guy, a little bit nervous today, because this is exactly the script that it looks like for the Cavs not being that good. The threes they made and took all year, suddenly they're taking only 2 more than the Pacers, and they're making a lot less. And some of those guys, I don't think Donovan Mitchell's going to go 1 for 11 every game, but some of those guys, those numbers can shrivel up, and I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest. So I don't want to overreact. The market's clearly not overreacting. Cleveland's still minus 200 to win the series. I think that's pretty notable to give away home court against, again, I think this Indiana team is pretty good. I think that half of this is a more, even though the shooting percentage isn't going to say, I think the Indy part of this being good is very real. I don't think the Cleveland part being bad is real yet. But again, this was a game where Indy played like about the best basketball they've played. Cleveland played really bad. Cleveland didn't have Darius Garland. And this was like a tie game with 4 minutes to go. This was very much, I think it was a tie game with like 2 minutes to go. So I wouldn't be super, super stressed if I were Cleveland. I think they can go into Indy. I don't think it's like, they gave away home court. It's all over. But it's a little nervous. I'm a little, as a big Cavs backer, I am a little nervous. The Garland thing that he couldn't play in what is a pretty big game 1, definitely nerve-wracking. The shooters, the shooting of the Cleveland being a little bit sus, both in number of attempts and number of makes, a little bit nerve-wracking. So I think Indy's legit. I don't think it was, I didn't have a specific bet on this series. I haven't really had a lot of bets on Cleveland in the postseason because I keep wanting to see more and more. My biggest takeaway is I want to see another game. So it's a really pathetic takeaway, but I want to get even more data, because if the Cavs keep shooting poorly, even more than if the Pacers go out and shoot amazing and somehow, either in game 2 or even steal game 2 because they shoot lights out, that I think will come to earth eventually. Even though I do think Andrew Nembhard is clearly a playoff dude at this point. I think we can call him that. The Cavs part of it could be more worrying to me even if Cleveland comes out of this series, but they do it not shooting particularly well, that's going to make me pretty nervous for all my Cleveland over Boston stuff. So a little bit nervous here on Cavs Island, but overall, I'm not selling the land just yet.
I want to kind of follow up on the pace thing. So pace was 99, 98 here in terms of actual possessions, which isn't like crazy high. The reason that I kind of pointed that out was one of the things I noticed was the Cavs would make a basket and the crowd was so ready for this game. And they were just like, oh man, come on. After made buckets, the Pacers were pushing and getting into sets where first action was at 17 seconds. That means that you have to defend this is one of the things that I think is so important. Tony Parker was the absolute best at this for San Antonio. you would score and Tony be like, we're going to get back. We're coming right back. You don't get to like go back and do the big arm thing. And like you do that and they're by you and they're scoring. So like every possession is like, all right, you score, we're putting right back on you. Cause there's this tendency to kind of be like, all right, now kind of get set up here. And if you don't allow them that, and we kind of saw the Cavs defense, I think, get a little, not hugely because the variance was very high in this game, but I think it was a little bit exposed in terms of probably not being as sharp as it needed to be off of that Heat series. Again, that's post ergo, but I just think it's a little bit, it fit very much with what I watched today. Brandon, what was your kind of takeaway from game one?
Yeah, I'm pretty in lockstep with Jim on this one. To me, I can't say it's just shot variance because the NBA is just shot variance. If you're going to do that, you got to make threes, et cetera, et cetera. But like looking at with, 3 minutes left or 2 minutes or whenever it's tied, the Pacers had to win this game, actually. The Pacers had to win this game. When you shoot more than double, like when you have your best 3-point percentage game of probably the series and the Cavs have their worst shooting game of the series, you shouldn't be tied with a few minutes left. And by the way, and Darius Garland is out. You shouldn't be tied. You should be blowing them off the court. Underneath the threes, Indy's bench got outplayed. The plus minus went Cleveland's direction. In the paint, Cavs 70-38. The Cavs scored a lot of twos pretty easily. They just didn't score quite enough because they didn't hit near their threes all game. Nembhard and Nesmith score 40 points on 9 of 12 threes. You're not getting that any other games this series. Jared Allen was not great. That's a thing that we were worried about coming in. Strus and Merrill starting in a second round playoff game together. Like, come on, what are we doing with that? They're basically just spot up shooters. To me, I think the Cavs should feel fine, but I think they do need Darius Garland back to feel safe. So, coming in, we knew the Pacers were good. We knew the Pacers would be able to hang. This was like the A+ Pacers game, and they still almost didn't win against like a C- Cavs game, missing their third best player. I don't feel like Cleveland should feel too terrible here. Like, I'm not rushing to bet them again because I haven't had a great read on Cleveland yet, but I don't know that the sky is falling for them.
And Joe.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting, what was it, 5 of 6 from 3 from Nembhard and 4 of 6 from Nesmith, like you got to win that game. And that's obviously what Indiana did. I do think that Donovan Mitchell also probably doesn't go 1 for 11 from 3 again. Like to me, I'm honestly still considering buying the Cavs at minus 200. I didn't want to buy them before the series. I thought that Indiana could maybe steal a game. I didn't know what was going on with Garland's toe. And that's kind of the reason that I'm like hesitant a little bit to even buy the minus 200. But to me, I think that Cleveland is still the better team. I didn't like some of the rotational things, like with Merrill getting as many minutes as he did. I think we should have just seen a lot heavier of a dose of Mitchell and Ty Jerome. Like that's kind of the formula that has worked for Cleveland with even like 2 like relatively smaller types of guards. So, and they kind of got away from Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley started the game off, I think, really well, and then just kind of fell off. So for me, like, I don't mind laying the minus 200. I think it's probably still going to be there, and we'll have an idea of what Garland's status is. I think they were able to kind of mask it because they didn't have the same injury report requirements while they were, while they advanced so long ago, essentially. So I'm curious to see if he's going to play in game 2. I think it's a quick turnaround. It's only a day. It's only on Tuesday. So we should have some idea if he's playing. I would maybe play the minus 200, or honestly, you're probably going to get a pretty good price on game 2 series because it's a must-win game for Cleveland. So I'd imagine that's going to maybe be minus 150 or so. But I think that's a much better price than the minus 200 that you would get just betting the series straight.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I just looked. I don't see that market up yet. It will be soon. I see Anthony asking in the comments, if you're not invested yet in the Cavs, I would not mind if I'm not invested yet taking that exact thing Joe just said, the game 2 series line. Because the thing is, if you lose game 2 and you're down 0-2 at home, you don't want to be investing in the Cavs. Like, you're pretty much expecting that you need that game for your bet to look good. So if the line is giving you a real edge there from the minus 200, I agree that's the way to go.
Jim?
As someone...
Wait, I must ask you.
Oh, yes.
Does minus 200 intrigue you?
Intrigue. We need the graphic or something. You love this.
I'm gonna have. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have David Payne put together. It's gonna sound like an old timey radio with like thunder clashing. Jim Turvey's House of Intrigue. That's what
the funny thing is, I think I send it over text much more than I say it. So I'll have to incorporate it into my podcast vernacular a little bit more.
You say it every pod.
Oh wait, do I? Okay, well there you go. Never mind. I do it. I guess I say it and I text it. It doesn't intrigue. I mean, it literally intrigues me, but I don't think. I think if you're doing it, definitely do it with the game 2 thing, because you don't want to be going too indie down 0-2. That crowd's a really good crowd, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to doing, in part because I want to see what happens with Darius Garland. To me, that is a very big factor that holds its weight in gold and waiting to see what the information is there.
Okay. Good stuff there on the Rockets and Warriors series and Indy game 1. Let's do a little bit of best bets. Let's do that here. We'll go around the horn. We will break it all down, have those entire, we'll give you sides, props, totals, the whole shebang. Reminder that everything we talk about can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. Make sure you download that right now. If you sign up for a pro subscriber, you can get instant access to all sorts of great bets from our experts. Make sure to check that out. Okay, let's go around the horn and let's give out best bets for the 2 games happening in the National Basketball Association's playoffs on Monday. I'll run down the lines very quickly. The Knicks are 9.5-point dogs versus the Boston Celtics. You can actually get a minus 9.5 plus 100 at ESPN. There are minus 9s in the market currently, so it's fluctuating between 9.5 and 9. Total 212.5 is consensus. There's a under 212.5 minus 104 at ESPN. The New York Knicks are plus 330 to win game 1. The Nuggets, after a very tough 7-game series, left today to play tomorrow, Oklahoma City. They will play 3 times in 6 days, including a game 7. The Thunder are 9.5-point favorites. Total 224.5. You can get a minus 9.5, minus 108 right now at DraftKings, tracked in the Action Network app. The Nuggets are plus 340. Let's go around the horn. Joe Dellera, what are your best bets for Monday in the NBA playoffs?
So I mentioned before, I like Oklahoma City game 1, and on the series, I'll lay the juice. It's like minus 285. I think it's a great spot to back Oklahoma City. And I am also on some funky ones. We've got Josh Hart over 3.5 field goals made and Josh Hart over 9.5 field goals attempted.
Where are these? Are these like underdog?
No, it's Bet365 and ESPN has them, so we'll toss them out there. These are some fun ones, and if you can't get those, I think 10.5 points is an okay pivot.
Okay, all right, I like it. Getting outside the box. I'm excited. This is fun. Jim Turvey, yours.
I've got Derek White over 14.5 points and over 24.5 PRA. I've got OG Anunoby under 15.5 points. And I've got Chet Holmgren over 26.5 PRA and over 2.5 blocks.
I grabbed the under on Celtics Knicks when it first came out with Fiddle at 217.5 was the first number. It's now 212.5. So I'm going to take a little victory lap for yay for the CLV. And this game's probably going to go over. I'm on OKC minus 9.5. Brandon. What do you got?
I'm going to play a couple quarter bets. Give me the Celtics first quarter and the Thunder's second quarter. Both are 2.5-point favorites. I may look for some Thunder alts also if I can find the second quarter alts. And then props in the Thunder game. J-Dub over 4.5 assists. Christian Brown over 12.5 points. That one's even odds. And then this counts because they're both starting their series. Thunder and Celtics futures, minus 1.5 on the series. Parlay it together. Minus 112. Thunder and Celtics to win in 6 or less. Minus 112. It's just like a standard bet. Set and forget it. I literally bet that last round, forgot that I had it till I looked back and I was like, oh, that was an easy one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go bet this. This is a Bet Rivers right now. So you need to track that. Go track it right now. Like while Jim Turvey is doing a handicap, go track that so people can grab it because that's a really good bet. Okay. I'm trying to think where we should start. Let's start with Knicks Celtics. Let's start there on this one. Knicks fans, to their credit, are for the most part not being delusional. Like a lot of realism.
We're going for a casket already.
Yeah, I would say we're going for like a big brain reverse jinx, and then we'll be like, I was playing the whole time.
Yeah, no, never doubted him for a second. Most of the Knicks pods I've heard of are just like, yeah, I don't know how they're gonna win this series.
Nope. Yeah.
And that was basically Brandon and I's entire thing is I don't know how they're gonna win the series. Yeah. I did forget to mention something when we did the series preview because, and I feel like this is worth mentioning. The way the Knicks win this series is if Tom Thibodeau comes out with a defensive scheme he has literally never showcased. If he gets that far outside of his comfort zone and he throws out a matchup zone, what I think would be a really good idea. Something similar to what the Nuggets ran against the Clippers in Game 7 actually would be very effective and would probably cause Jason Tatum to malfunction and beep boop, error 404. Unfortunately, that's not what's going to happen. They're going to run the same scheme and they're going to lose. But Joe, you like Josh Hart over 3.5 field goals made and over 9.5 field goals attempted. This is a very interesting market. Give me the handicap.
Yeah, so like I've been seeing some more of these markets pop up as the playoffs have progressed. So I wanted to start dabbling in them a little bit. And I like it, honestly, as a little bit of a pivot off of the points prop. His points prop's at 10.5, but I think that this is kind of hits what I'm trying to get at a little bit more on the nose. And the biggest thing is that Boston, throughout the entire season, they just don't give a shit about Josh Hart. They're just like, I'm glad that you exist. Like he just is on the court and they don't cover him. They sag off of him defensively. They don't roll with him when he's a screener, and they double off of him when he's on the perimeter. They literally do not care that Josh Hart is on the floor, at least on the offensive side of the ball. He's a pest for them on the defensive side of the ball, but that's a totally different issue. Essentially, they're forcing Josh Hart to do something offensively. They're going to say, we can throw doubles at Brunson. We can stay on Cat in pick and roll situations. We don't need to cover you. The only way that Josh Hart can force the issue is he has to hit these shots at such a high clip that it forces Boston to cover him. And even then, they still a lot of times won't even totally care. So he's got 4+ field goals made in 6 straight games against Boston. And in terms of his attempts, he's had 14, 14, 16, 6 this season. And then the last 2 last year were 15 and 10. So I just think that the 6 also was in the first game of the season. So I'm kind of throwing that one out the window like a touch because I don't think that the New York had any idea of what the offense was supposed to look like or feel like, given that it was such a new, roster composition. But the main thing is that Boston doesn't care that he's on the floor, and Josh Hart is capable of making these shots. He's still he's still going to shoot about 50% from the field if they're not going to cover him. He's going to put up some of these opportunities, and he's going to get out in transition. He's going to get a dunk here and there. He's going to put up a couple extra shots, but Boston's going to let him shoot the ball. And I think that that's a strategy that was employed during the regular season that is absolutely going to translate into the postseason. And then we're also seeing Josh Hart play like 40 minutes. So there's plenty of opportunity for him to get up to make 4 shots and to also put up 10. So I like both here. And the over 3.5 field goals is at -155. So it's a little bit more juiced. And then the over 9.5 is +110. So I kind of split it at a half unit each.
I like this. This is pretty smart. That's a great cap. I think that's accurate from all the way down on Josh Hart. I am very curious to see what the Celtics defense does in this series because I've been so much like they're not as good as last year and waiting for the series where they're like, but we're still better than everybody else. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been waiting on. Let's go to Jim Turvey. Derek White over 14.5 points, 24.5 PRA for the player that I think is going to wind up winning Eastern Conference Finals MVP in the next round. But talk to me about Derek White.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would make sense. He is one of those guys, Brandon and I did the whole podcast of who gets better, who gets worse in the postseason. Derek White is very much one of those guys who gets better. Should see plenty of minutes against New York. This number, I think, is a little confusing. It's lower than his regular season points prop. It's not like he has struggled against New York. If you look at the biggest thing here is the minutes, though, because, he is going to get minutes in this game. The fear could be a blowout. This Knicks team definitely could get blown out. But in the 59 games in which he played 30 minutes this season, he's got incredibly high floor. He hit 10 points in 59 of those 57. Then if we bring it up to 34 minutes, which is likely around where he'll be playing, if not more this game, he's hit 15 plus in 34 of those 41. So the games he's getting minutes, he absolutely clears it. So it's a really nice line too, where Derek White's a guy who shoots a lot of threes, especially in the postseason. Getting that multiple of three is really nice for him. He cleared it in 4 of 5 in the Orlando series in the first round, the only one being the Game 5 blowout. He didn't play enough minutes. Again, in the 4 games that he played 34 minutes, he cleared it. He consistently sees his points per game go up in the postseason. Last year, it went from 15.2 to 16.7. This time, he averaged 16.4 in the regular season. He's up to 17.2 in the first round. So this 14.5, we're getting a really big discount against a Knicks team that isn't a good defense. I don't know if they're baking in some of these playoff unders in general. It has been a low-scoring postseason, but this Knicks defense is not good. It's not a good defensive backcourt. They should be getting a lot. I don't think Tibbs is going to do the smart thing you said, Matt. I think they're going to do a lot of switching. It's going to be a lot of scrambling and a lot of threes. We saw it against even the Pistons, who don't do that nearly as well as the Celtics. So I think it's a great spot for Derek White. I'll probably sprinkle a little bit on, a little bit up the ladder. I'll make sure to get the first rung this time. But I think Derek White could have a really good game on Monday.
I got to think about this one more. I don't know if this is the matchup for Derek White. But also I don't trust them. I don't trust. It's weird. It's like they have really good wings, but I still don't trust them to stay home on Derek White, which is honestly, that would be number one on my list. Is just like, hey, don't let Derek White shoot. Jason Tatum can score 60.
You would think that the scheme you said would work decent. I don't think we're good. They did get that nice leak out there about, even if the Knicks win round 1, they still might fire him. So maybe he will be coaching for his life and actually do some adjustments this time.
OG under 50.5 points. Give me that one.
Yeah. The fear here would be naturally that, they're going to put him on Tatum. He's going to play, 40 minutes, something crazy like that. But here's the thing. He averaged 37 a game against the Celtics this season, and he averaged 9 points a game, went under this every time. He went 2 for 15 from 3. You could say, some of that's variance is going to come back, the other way. And he could, be closer to that 12, 13 points per game, still below, but maybe a little bit of variance. But here's the thing. Guarding Tatum is going to sap those legs that you need to take the threes on the other end. So I think, this is a really good Boston defense. B, we're seeing lots of unders in the postseason. And Tatum's a good defender. That's probably going to be his matchup the other way as well. Tatum never really gets talked about in the same circles as some of the other really good wing defenders out there. He's a very good defender. And OG has really struggled in this matchup overall to score. I think in large part because of the defensive burden he has on the other end of things. He really has not scored against Boston very well in his career at all. And so especially on this Knicks team, where I think that it's going to be, we saw when things get tight for the Knicks, it's Brunson with maybe, a sprinkle of Cat. The side guys really don't get involved as much when things get tight, and against a really good Celtics defense with a pretty low total, like you mentioned, I had to get one under in there. And so OG points is the way I want to approach that.
This is going to be a really tough one because I think OG actually, again, this is another one of those hey, if Tibbs doesn't do what I think Tibbs is going to do, posting OG and having him actually attack pretty consistently. Tatum is an elite defender, but they'll switch it. So I don't know who you really want to go at, right? Maybe Jaylen Brown actually would probably be my target here with a bad knee, as I would be like, hey, what if we can get OG switched on to Jaylen Brown and then post him and then attack that way? Or especially in the bench minutes.
Where's OG post-ups on the rankings of Knicks offensive outcomes though? That can't
very
be
low because their offense is dribble, Jalen Brunson Griffs. Like that's the offense. And so
Free throws
it's
are
a very
really
good offense, but that's the offense. Brandon Anderson, you're on a quarter play. You love these quarter plays. The quarter plays are the one, like they're the one with you that I'm like, can't do it. Like I never go in for the quarter plays for whatever reason. Like they're just versus the stupid parlay bets I do that you're like, these are objectively bad bets. But like your quarter bets are the ones I'm always like, I can't get here. Talk to me about Celtics first quarter in game 1.
Yeah, it's funny because normally they give me as much sample as you can. So I don't know why the quarters guy lately. Celtics first quarter, to me, this is just, I don't need to make the case why I think the Celtics are the much better team. Are they going to show up or are they not? If they're going to show up, they're going to put a statement and get an easy win. If they're not, then I think they're probably not right away, and they might not even win the game. Like I actually thought about like Knicks game 1, Celtics series, or even Knicks game 1, Celtics 4 wins in a row. So I've considered that maybe Boston, like we know the spread of like when Boston wins by double digits, that they fail to cover the next game or sometimes lose. Is there a carryover from the regular season? When you win by 65 in the 4 games in the regular season, does that count coming to the playoffs? It's possible. I don't think so. I'm taking the first quarter because if the Celtics show up, they should win the first quarter. In the regular season, they beat the Knicks in the first quarter by 11, 19, and 19 in 3 of the games. They did lose the final one, but 11, 19, and 19 makes it pretty clear who the better starters are. If the Celtics are going to win the game, it should be because they just look good right away. So first quarter Celtics -2.5.
Okay. Let's move on to Thunder and Nuggets, which the series has been played several times and it has the best description coming off of the tongue. Thunder Nuggets. Like it's just amazing. So Nuggets and Thunder -9.5 total 225. Here's the stat. Teams road dogs coming off of game 7 with less than 3 days rest versus a team with more than 4 days rest are 4-19 straight up, 17%, 7-16, 30% ATS since 2003. The Nuggets are in for a beating. This is going to be a demolition. Then I haven't gotten to where I honestly know who's going to win this series yet. Like, I don't know who's going to win this series. I'm pretty confident it's OKC. I don't know what like the series bet's going to be. I don't know like if I think the Nuggets can hang. The matchup stuff is very much like not that bad for Denver. There's like a lot of stuff in here, but there is a point where how much better the opponent is negates all of that. And a good place for that being the case is the team having literally the best point differential of all time. So I don't know. What I do know is the Nuggets are losing game 1. I am willing to go ahead and be wrong on this. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If the Nuggets go in off of a game 7 versus the Clippers after that brutal series, MPJ, I am in the locker room and telling you he has asked, can you help me take my jersey off? That's how bad the shoulder is. The man had 6 boards, a dunk, and 3 3-pointers. Ballsy as hell. But good God. Like, no. They beat up the Clippers. Aaron Gordon in particular out-muscled physically and mentally that Clippers team. They were not in that zone. Now, I don't know if the Thunder have the composure to face what they're going to have to in the next 2 rounds. What I do know is that they are not going to be physically outmatched, is that they're going to hit first. This team believes it has they are expecting a championship. They think they can do this. They believe they can do this. And I think the defense alone is going to be nightmarish enough, especially with the fact that Nikola hasn't looked right since the playoffs began. Like Jokic has had 1 great game since the playoffs began. And maybe that was a Clippers thing. I think it might be.
Thing. Yeah.
But it's enough to get me on Thunder -9.5. The trend alone dictates I must bet Thunder -9.5. Thunder -9, that will be the play. I will parlay them in various parlays on the money line. That is my play for game 1. Let's talk about the other best bets for this game. Let's go to Jim Turvey.
Let me do my quarter one next because I think it builds off of what you just said, really. Yeah, the second quarter, Oklahoma City Thunder. Hey guys, what happens in the second quarter when you play the Nuggets? Jokic sits. That's when I'm going to play a Thunder run. And like, I have Matt and I are about to record after this podcast our preview for the series. Matt, I'm excited to talk to you about it because I think I'm in a similar place to you. I don't know necessarily how I feel about the series. I absolutely know how I feel about game one, and it's exact same as you. I am worried because I think I have 6 every game type bets in the series for Oklahoma City. And I'm worried we might get game one Memphis in this game again, where it's like, oh, I turned the game on mid-second quarter and it is like a 30-point game already. And the Thunder have just wiped the floor with them. Second quarter line -2.5. So from the regular season, the Nuggets were 19th in second quarter net rating, -1. In the playoffs, they're -8.7. They can't win the non-Jokic minutes. We all know that that's always been a thing. Oklahoma City's defense, in particular off the bench, I think can really demolish in those minutes. So I think that basically, to me, Matt, I think you should be playing second quarter bets maybe in some of your parlays for the first game stuff, because I think that's when they can really push the lead open, is in those non-Jokic minutes. And then just kind of like, I think there's a good chance this one is just cooked at halftime. And frankly, I honestly think that might be the best outcome for the Nuggets if they're not going to win, is just like, all right, great. Jokic, you played like 17 minutes. Goodbye. Have some rest. Let's try again in a couple of days. Thunder -2.5 second quarter at DraftKings. Thunder by 10 second quarter is +350. The highest line you can get is -13.5 +770. These haven't been hitting for me, but I'm going to try it again on this game one trend, basically. So I'm taking the game one trend, focusing it in on that second quarter burst, and just trying to go escalator to the top.
Fun one, because I looked at the half lines. So quarter one, it's 8, and there's been 8 out of 18. No, 8 out of 23. I'm sorry. 8 of 23 teams in the spot for the Nuggets have led after the first quarter. It drops to 5 out of 23 led at halftime. 5 out of 23 led at the half, coming off a game 7 with less than 3 days rest, facing a team with rest. I cannot stress how bad the situational position is for the Denver Nuggets. The only way this would be worse is if they were another team flying into Denver to play in altitude. That's the only way this would be worse. Or if they got like sick on the plane. All right. Let's see publicly. Joe's done. Nope. Joe's got OKC series, game 1 in series. Do you need to explain that one? Like, I don't think that this needs a lot of it, but do you want to give the cap?
No, I mean, it really just ties into this game one trend, and they got a ton of rest. Like, I love the spot, and I think it's just reducing the juice. So go Thunder.
Go Thunder. Jim Turvey, Chet over 26.5 PRA and over 2.5 blocks.
Let me just real quick on all this. I'm with you guys. I was intrigued by the matchup stuff too, and I really kind of wanted to be on Denver. The number is so long in the series. I kind of wanted to, find a series spread bet or something. But it's not just game 1. It's 1 game off before game 2, 1 game off before game 3 back in Denver, 1 game off before game 4. It is, they are set up for failure. And, I really should. I gave Boston so much crap last year when they lucked into, all these opponents that were dinged up. Now we've got OKC got a Memphis team that had fired its coach. Ja was in and out of getting hurt. Now we've got a Denver team with a crazy bad schedule spot. OKC might just walk into the Western Conference Finals without, with a couple of really nice breaks there. Something we should kind of keep our eyes on long term. I really kind of wanted to be intrigued by this Denver team, but the first 4 games being set up as they were, I really can't get there. So I'm not doing anything game specific. And even this best bet here, I don't like it as much as the Boston and New York ones, because there is the threat, very real threat, of a blowout in which Chet isn't going to get the minutes to clear this. But this number is being deflated by all of the blowouts OKC has played. When he's played 30 or more minutes, he basically averages 19, 11, and 3. That's clear. That's handily clearing this line. That's at 33 PRA compared to 26.5 here. His highest minutes of the season were 2 games versus Denver. I do think that there is definitely a blow up possibility, but the spread here is 9.5, and the market is, none of us are top down bettors here, but the market is saying this will be around a 10-point game in the 50. That's the 50th median outcome. So if I want to play 50th median outcome, it isn't a blowout. There's obviously the potential of blowout. There's also potential for a really close game where Chet has to play a lot of minutes. So he flew past this, both of the games that he cleared 30 minutes in the first round. And here's the thing, the blocks part of it, these tired legs are going to make for perfect opportunities for blocks by the rim. Russell Westbrook alone attacking the rim should, get Chet a block or two right there. He did very well against the Nuggets in terms of collecting blocks during the regular season in 2 games in which he had 4, another in which he had 2. I think that, again, this is a little bit more sprinkled because of that risk of a blowout, but I think Chet is positioned to have a really good series against a Denver team with some tired legs and just him getting, a more full minutes load in the postseason. I'm a big Chet believer. I think that in the postseason, he is not the type to shrink from the moment. I think he's going to have a very strong, he will be one of those playoff performers who really does translate well to the postseason. So Chet over points, rebounds, assists, and blocks is my play for this game for Monday night.
Okay. Brandon, hit me with J-Dub over 4.5 assists and Christian Brown over 12.5 points. By the way, I want to say this again, because apparently, even broadcasters get this round. I understand why it looks. It does drive me nuts too, but it's Christian Brown. It's not Braun. It looks like Braun, but it's Brown. His name is Christian Brown.
Correct. Yeah, great. Okay, so J-Dub, who is the good Jalen Williams. I thought that's where we were going with the correction. Over 4.5 assists. It's minus 150. That's because I think this is going to be over 5.5 assists pretty quickly in the series. That's where the line should be. He's had 5, 5, 5, and 6 in the playoffs so far, obviously in a couple blowout games even there. He averaged 6.5 against Denver in the regular season, and he had 6, 8, and 9 in the last 3 games. The first game was the opener. He did not do well in that game. He was really good against them. I'm on his assists for the series. I have a few ways to play that. You can listen to the series preview pod. I'm also on Christian Brown points overs in the series. So just jumping in with both of those. I agree with Jim. These are not necessarily like hammer spots because of the blowout potential, but Brown scored at least 14 points in all 4 games here against OKC. I think there's a little bit of Joe's cap of Josh Hart here where it's like, okay, somebody has to take some shots and we're going to allow it to be Christian Brown. So 14 points or more. He averaged 18.3. He's just getting some shots up. He's going to get some transition stuff probably in a game where, the game that should be fast and have some buckets going either way. It's even odds over 12.5. Again, talk a little bit more about him on the series preview.
Okay. I think we got it all. I think we got all the best bets in, which is phenomenal. Thunder minus 9.5, Chet Holmgren over 26.5 PRA, over 2.5 blocks from Jim Turvey. I'm on Thunder minus 9.5. Joe Dellera, OKC game 1 in series minus 285. Brandon's on OKC minus 2.5 second quarter. J-Dub over 4.5 assists. Christian Brown over 12.5 points. Thunder. Did you do the Christian Brown cap? Did I let you do the Christian Brown cap?
Yeah, I kept it quick.
Okay. Thunder and Celtics minus 1.5, parlayed minus 112 at Bet Rivers. Derek White over 14.5 points, 24.5 PRA for Jim Turvey. OG under 15.5 points. Joe Dellera, Josh Hart over 3.5 field goals made and 9.5 field goals attempted, because that's a thing we're doing now. And Brandon's on Celtics first quarter minus 2.5. You can find quick slips for all of those bets in the episode description down below. You can follow us in the Action Network app at Turvey Bets, at Joe Dellera, at Wheaton Brando, WheatonBrando. I'm at HP Basketball. My thanks to David Payne, our producer. My thanks to Gifford Gould getting this up at youtube.com/the Action Network. It's been a phenomenal first round of the playoffs. We are keeping it cranking. More content to come. More stuff going. We will have normal best bets for the Tuesday games in your feeds tomorrow afternoon. We will have buckets live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, 10:30 Eastern at halftime of the second game. Hope you guys have had a great weekend. Hope you guys have a great week. Till we see you again, let's get buckets.